Welcome to Aflame for Christ, homilies to set your heart on fire with love for Jesus Christ. My name is Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you've joined us on this fourth Sunday of Lent. So we just heard this very famous and very powerful parable of the prodigal son. I'd like to make 4 points about this famous parable and then tell you a saint story. So first point, is a person merely a cog in an economic machine? Is everything reducible just to commerce and you're only worth as much as you can produce? Or is a person a gift to be loved and cherished? This dichotomy is a major theme that we see here in this parable. We begin, for example, with the younger son asking for his inheritance. To him, his father is nothing more than just a bank account. He says, I don't care if you live or die, I just want money from you. Give me what you owe, right? Okay, more on that theme later. Second point. Where does the son take this money? The words in Greek are actually quite evocative. The words in Greek are the chora makra, which literally means the great emptiness, sometimes translated as a distant country, but it literally is this great void, right? It's not just a foreign land, it's a place of no return, a vast expanse of emptiness, a deserted wasteland, the limits of human existence. Oh, yeah, people live there, definitely, but there can be great emptiness and deserted wastelands even in the midst of crowds and parties. Last week in the first reading, God introduced himself to Moses with the name Yahweh, I am. God is being itself, pure existence. So the farther one gets away from God, the more we become part of the great emptiness, where our human degradation and disillusion creeps upon us until we're filled with a void, this chora makra. Third point, hedonism is boring. Hedonism is the belief that the only thing that matters is pleasure. Of course, we think of the decadent Roman emperors, throwing great parties, but I'll be honest, I think that hedonism is the most common philosophy in the world today. Because I can't tell you how many young people refuse to pray or to attend Mass because, it's boring. My friends, since when is being entertained the most important value in this life? We live in a world that says, pursue every pleasure. Don't ever say no to yourself. But the truth is, hedonism gets old really fast, right? There's only so many slices of pizza one can eat. There's only so many impure websites you can look up. There's only so many vacations you can go on. Eventually, it just kind of gets dull. And that's why so many celebrities and rich people are unhappy. They can have every pleasure money can buy and then find that it won't buy fulfillment. But you don't have to be rich to be a hedonist. So many regular Americans believe that you just always seek pleasure no matter what. But it just plain gets boring. So the young man runs out of money, which brings us back to the first point. Where are his friends at this time? Now that he has no money, they've abandoned him because he was only as good as the parties he could throw. Even when working for pay, the owners of these swine refused to give him anything extra. It was just pure commerce. You work for your pay, and that's it. I'm not going to give you even the pods that the swine get to eat. Pure and simple, it's nothing but a relationship of economic benefit. No compassion, no love, just a worthless, utterly replaceable drone in the economic machine. Does that sound familiar? John Paul II had a unique insight. He said the opposite of love is not hate. No, it's using. It's treating a person as a mere means to an end. No one hated this young man. He had no enemies, but no one loved him either. He had no friends. He was just simply a means to an end, a totally disposable person. Under communist Russia, Stalin imprisoned about 18 million of his own citizens in the Gulag system, forced to work in inhuman conditions. One of their projects was to build a canal between the White Sea and the Baltic Sea, which is about a 141-mile-long canal. One day, as it was nearing completion, they accidentally dug too close to the sea, and water began rushing through the unfinished canal. And the commandants began ordering the prisoners to try to fill the hole with dirt, starting this major wheelbarrow brigade. But the dirt wasn't coming fast enough to fill the hole, and the canal was in danger of bursting. So the commandants began throwing the prisoners into the water to fill the hole with their bodies. And later they explained their actions, and they said, well, it was hard to get more wheelbarrows, but it was easy to get more prisoners. A worldview that sees a person as disposable, only as useful as what they can produce. What a contrast, then, when this young man returns home. The father embraces him as a person, and rather than requiring repayment, gives gifts. He is given a ring and a cloak, which are symbols of that rightly restored relationship. John Paul II defines love as self-gift. And so because of this gift, the Son is now human again. He's no longer just a faceless employee to a heartless employer. He's the son of a father. Being a son implies a relationship, and that is what he is. Interestingly, also, this older son, I think, reduces relationship to commerce. See how he argues with his father, right? I served you, so you owe me a goat to feast on. But the father brings it back to relationship. I have shared everything I have with you, for I love you. So I ask you, do you see your earthly relationships in economic terms? Sometimes marriages fall into that trap, right? I did the chores for the last 3 days, so I should get to buy the new pair of shoes. Sometimes kids will play that game with their parents, right? Mom, Dad, you need to buy me that new iPhone, as if they were owed. Sometimes even our relationship with God becomes one of commercial exchange, right? God, I'll go to Mass every week if you'll heal my mother from cancer. But love is so much more than just an economic exchange. Love says, how can I lay down my life for you? Love is, I just want to be in your presence. An economic viewpoint says, what can I get out of this relationship? Love says, what can I give? Finally, fourth point on that idea of gift. This is our takeaway. Everything in our relationship with God is gift, pure gift. Our life is a gift. His grace is a gift. And heaven is a gift, free and unearned. I want to reemphasize this last point more strongly. Heaven is a gift, free and unearned. I'm amazed at how many good Catholics tell me, I think life is a test to see if you're worthy of heaven. My friends, no one is worthy of heaven. No one. It's completely and totally a gift of God's grace. Life is not a test, it's an invitation. God has already purchased heaven for us with the blood of Jesus. We claim what's already been ours by a faith that's lived out in love. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate tests. But I love invitations. Tests stress me out. What if I do wrong? What if I don't pass? Invitations allure. They delight. Someone loves me and wants to spend time with me. If our faith is a test, then it becomes a burden, and we fear the test giver. But if our faith is an invitation, then it's a delight, and I can't wait to meet the divine inviter. Heaven is a free gift given to us unearned by a good Father. And when you read the lives of the saints, you see that. You see that God has given saving grace to people who totally don't deserve it, simply because heaven is a gift. I want to mention the story of St. Mary of Egypt today, because she just is a wonderful example of that. Mary was from a small farming town down the Nile River in Egypt, but she'd heard about the bright lights in big city Alexandria. It was kind of like the New York of its day. So at 12 years old, bored with her farm life, she ran away from home and went to Alexandria. And it was quite the experience until she ran out of money. And there's not too many economic opportunities for a young girl, so she began to sell her body for money. For 10 years, she lived that lifestyle, never considering there's a better way to live. So finally, a group from Alexandria undertook a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and Mary came along, not out of devotion, but just simply out of curiosity. She enjoyed seeing the new country and visiting the churches, but as she was about to enter the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is built over the site of Jesus' death and burial, suddenly a force prevented her from entering past the doorway. A second time she tried, and she couldn't get past this strange force field. And finally, a third time, same result. She realized it was due to her sinful lifestyle, and she was struck with sorrow. Seeing a statue of Jesus and Mary in the courtyard, she begged for mercy and tried a fourth time to enter the church. And this time, she was able to go in. She made a good confession and then heard a voice say to her, "You will find rest in the desert." So she made her way to the desert across the Jordan River, and there she lived as a hermit in fasting and prayer for 20 years. One day she happened upon a priest and asked for Holy Communion. So she received communion from him, and that night died of overwhelming joy. A truly repentant sinner, she's now the patron saint of sinners who seek mercy. My friends, that prodigal young man saw the world only in terms of hedonism and economics. Everything was for sale. But this only led to the chora makra, the great emptiness. He was rescued then by the free and lavish grace of a father who restored him to the relationship in a house of love. Isn't that our story too?